All right, what is up, Utah fans? This is Joseph back with the Utah Utes Football Digest. A bunch of excitement over the weekend. Utah heads into Waco. All the data was telling us that it should be a super dominant win. That is not how the game played out. Baylor had the lead basically until the very end of the game, where Utah pulled off a really hard fought win. There was some good, there was some bad, there was some ugly. Today, we're going to talk about the studs from week 2. Who are the guys that stepped up and helped us finalize and pull off that win? How we're going to do it? We're going to do 3 studs, third place, second place, first place. We'll also do 3 honorable mentions and 1 freshman up and comer of the week. So the freshman that really stood out among the crowd. And I want you guys to like the video, but also comment down below. Like I said, 3 studs, third place, second place, first place, 3 honorable mentions, and 1 freshman up and comer of the week. I want you guys to comment down below who you think those 7 guys are. I would love to hear it and see how close you guys can get to what my prediction is. Comment it down below before you watch the video. I think that makes it way more fun. And then also, guys, make sure you share the video, whether that's on a Facebook page or retweet it or send it to a friend that likes Utah football. I love growing this community. We've seen immense growth over the past, month or two. Super excited to keep it going. So make sure you do that. And if you haven't subscribed to the channel, let's go ahead and dive in. Let's talk about the studs from week 2 against Baylor. All right, guys, let's talk about the freshman up and comer to get things started. The freshman up and comer, again, is a freshman. This was an idea in the comments last week that I really liked, just shouting out a freshman that really looked impressive last week. Redshirt freshman, all that does not count. I'm talking about true freshmen that looked impressive week in and week out. And the guy that we're going to shout out this week is going to be Mikey Matthews. Mikey Matthews stepped up big time for Utah. Over the season, he's got 8 receptions for 82 yards. Last week against Baylor, it was more than half of those. He was 4 receptions for 48 yards, did great. And even more than that, he had the second highest offensive PFF grade on the team for the game against Baylor. So super impressive there. A guy that looked really good, Mikey Matthews again. One reason I'm not sure how I want to do this moving forward, whether I want the freshmen to be able to make the up and comer list, or to make the studs list or not. But it is a small sample size. It was only 28 snaps, so he did a great job. Great job. Really a guy that got close to making the actual list, and Mikey Matthews looked awesome. Mikey, we're excited to see just how much of a star you can become, man. Keep it up. All right, guys. And the first honorable mention in the game against Baylor is going to be slot corner or nickel corner, Tao Johnson. Tao Johnson is a redshirt freshman. The kid killed it on Saturday. He looked awesome. And this was after I had to call him out a little the week before for not having a great performance. He really stepped up. Tao Johnson, now to disclaim, it was only against on 32 snaps, but Tao Johnson had the highest PFF grade of anyone on this defense. I thought that was pretty damn impressive for a guy that had basically the lowest or one of the lowest the week before. He went from a 55 defensive grade against Florida and jumped it all the way up to an 80.5. That means in those 32 snaps he played, he looked like an elite defender. He looked awesome. He also had 2 pass breakups in the game. The kid came out ready to ball out, ready to make it happen. He looked awesome. He had 1 solo tackle, 1 assisted tackle, 2 pass breakups, and really almost had a game-ending pick. And as much as he did drop the pick, it was still an awesome play for him to read the situation, jump in there, and break it up. But that's Tao Johnson, one of the honorable mention guys from the Baylor game. All right, and the next honorable mention is going to be linebacker Lander Barton. Lander Barton had a show-stopping hit that should have been a fumble. I think a lot of you guys agreed with that. I saw it all over Twitter where the running back caught this little dump off or out route or something. And then as he turned upfield, Lander Barton comes in and just lays the wood and the ball comes flying out. It was such a cool play. And it was one of the hardest hits I can remember seeing in years from Utah football. That was a really nice hit. So Lander Barton made it happen for sure. He looked awesome. The issue why Lander didn't actually make the list is a pretty poor PFF grade. Uh, we got a missed tackle here, and in actual tackles, it was really only one tackle. I do think that if that forced fumble had been registered and it had counted, this grade would be higher. But still, it's hard to give a guy with such a low PFF grade a spot on the list. He did have one pass breakup. I think that's the hit is what it is. Just a guy that didn't quite, and there's not a lot of numbers on here to say that he should have gotten, that he should be on the studs list. It felt like he made some plays, but as you watch it back and as you see the stats and the PFF grade, Lander Barton had that awesome hit. You can't go without mentioning him, but he's not going to be on the studs list. So that's Lander Barton for you. All right, guys. And the final honorable mention is going to be center Jaron Kump. Jaron Kump came out and just made a great game on the offensive line. 76 snaps against Baylor. He looked pretty damn good against Florida. Very good grade against Florida. And then he follows it up with an awesome game against Baylor. He had a 74.9 offensive grade, which is one of the highest grades out of anyone on the team. It was third place, right behind Mikey Matthews. But why I'm so impressed by it is how balanced the grade is, right? He had a 72.1 pass blocking grade and a 71.3 run blocking grade. So he was not a liability in either area, and he was pretty good in both. I mean, I'd say very good in both. Very good grades. Jaron Kump really was a guy that I almost put on the list, but I just felt like there was a few guys that really honestly, this was a tough week. There was a lot of low end performances for Utah, but there was a lot of high end performances too. There was some this week 2 studs situation was tough. Jaron Kump really came close to making the list, but he got nudged out by the guy that actually made the list, and that's Jaron Kump. Graded well in both areas last week. All right, guys, and now we move on to the studs list. Who were the big time studs from week 2 against Baylor? Now, we're going to start with the guy that got third place on the studs list. It'll go 3, 2, 1. The guy that came in third place is the man, safety, Cole Bishop. Now, I'm sure a lot of you guys expected Cole Bishop to come in first place. I'm sure. I'm sure a lot of you guys are sitting out there like, and I'm sure you guys can also guess who the 2 guys in front of him are because they were clearly big time playmakers, and I haven't mentioned them. You don't know the order yet, but you know who they are. At least if you watch the game, you know who they are. But with Cole Bishop, what it was with him was that as much as he had these awesome plays, dude, he really did. He lit up the field. He had an interception. Then he had 4 tackles, 2 tackles for a loss. Just lit it up. He also he made a bunch of plays, and I really give him a ton of credit for that. But also, as you go back, you watch the film, you look at the grades, he also led up a lot of big plays. I don't know if you guys remember that play. I think it was him and Zamiah Vaughn on that jump ball that the Baylor wide receiver caught, where it was double coverage and the receiver pulls it down. But neither him nor Vaughn turns and tries to make a play on the ball. I mean, that you got to consider that, right? He made a bunch of awesome plays, but I think it's tough to say that Cole Bishop could be any higher than third place on the studs list. He didn't grade out well either, and I think they should take the big plays he made into more consideration in his grade. But because I don't agree that a 60 is accurate for his performance, but I do think it was more of an above average performance rather than a great performance when you consider some of the mistakes made. But trust me, I'm as high on Cole Bishop as anyone. I think he's awesome. I can't put him any higher than this as much as I want to. So that's Cole Bishop, third place for the studs from week 2 list. All right. And like I said earlier, I think it's pretty clear who these final two guys are. I think you hadn't been paying attention a ton in the game if you don't know who the final two guys are. Uh, and here they are. So who's going to come in first? Who's going to come in second? In second place for the studs from week 2 list is going to be Nate Johnson. Nate Johnson comes in towards the end of the fourth quarter, just starts dicing them up, dude. Let Nate cook. Bro, Nate looked clearly better than the competition. Against Baylor, the competition that he had in the QB room, Nate looked like the guy when we were playing Baylor. He looked awesome. I made a comment that it was Nate Johnson's coming out party. I was like, are we watching it as he started to lead these drives? And I wouldn't go as far as to say that was the coming out party, but it felt like you saw something from Nate you hadn't seen. You knew it was there. Would he be able to unlock it? Would he live up to his potential? And he definitely did against Baylor. Nate came out slicing and dicing, dude. So against Baylor, he went 6 for 7 for 82 yards and only got sacked once and definitely had to make up some nice plays. The offensive line was not pass protecting well as a whole. He also had 11 carries for 32 yards and 1 touchdown. And the real thing with Nate is these game-winning drives he led, guys. That was what really impressed you with Nate. It wasn't about the stats. It was just like, oh, damn, this guy. And it was after Bryson had looked so bad all game. Like Bryson made you feel like we were playing an elite defense, and Nate went out there and made it feel like we had an elite offense. That's how it felt once we had Nate out there. So that was awesome. Couple reasons Nate's not number one is it was only 35 snaps. They were like game-winning drives, so I had to factor it in there. But he also had the highest PFF grade out of anyone on the offense. He looked awesome, and his passing grade was an 89.4. That is elite, elite, elite. Again, only on 11 passing plays, but Nate looked fantastic. I'm super excited to see him against Weber State and see him put it together for a whole game, right? I'm really excited, dude. Nate Johnson really lived up to the hype this past weekend. A guy a ton of us have been waiting to see kind of just break out of the shell a little bit. And I'm really excited to see what he can do against Weber State this week. So that was number 2 on the studs list, Nate Johnson. All right, and the final guy on the studs list. I hope you guys are enjoying this video. These do take a little while to put together with all the screenshots and figuring out how I want to work the list. If you guys really do appreciate these videos, please do make sure you smash that like button. It helps out a lot. Also, comment down below as we get to the end of this list. Um, let me know if my list matched up to yours. What'd you think? Or you thought I was egregiously wrong, or if you thought I was, pretty spot on. I definitely made some judgment calls here. I'm sure not everyone's going to agree, but here we go. Also, if you haven't share the video and subscribe to the channel. And let's go. Final guy, the number 1 guy on the studs list from week 2 against Baylor is Jaquindon Jackson. Jaquindon Jackson lit the game on fire, dude. 19 carries, 129 yards. He also had 1 catch for 11 yards, but 19 carries for 129 yards. Just to give you guys an idea, that was basically, I mean, what was our total yardage against Baylor? Let me see real quick. All right. What was the total yardage here? Okay, the total yardage, team stats. Yeah, our total yards against Baylor for Utah was 377. So more than 1/3 of our total yards were by Jaquindon Jackson. So the guy lit it up. His PFF grade was good. It wasn't insane, but it was good. And I'm sure a lot of you guys are questioning, why is he above Nate? I mean, I think a lot of you guys that follow the channel are informed enough to understand why he's above Nate. But some of you guys that might just casually watch, just be seeing this video for the first time, might ask, why is he above Nate? Well, the reason he's above Nate is because without Jaquindon Jackson, we're not even in a position for Nate to come and win us the game. Jaquindon Jackson was basically the whole offense until Nate came in. I mean, Jaquindon just kept pounding the rock, and making it happen. And just tough, like he kept getting hurt and kept getting hurt and just kept coming back in because I think he knew and the coaches knew he was the whole offense. So I thought he played awesome, dude. I thought he really looked special, and I'm excited to see what he's going to do this year. Uh, awesome to see him step up in a Power Five. You know, he didn't look great against Florida, but that was a really tough team to run against. And so against a team that's a little easier to run against in Baylor, I'm glad he stepped up. So cool, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video. Like, comment, subscribe, all that stuff. I'm out of here, and go Utes.